Nope, the title is not clickbait, so stick around and find out how I managed to get myself banned from Arch Enemy's concerts. Welcome back to Metal Blast TV. I know it's been a while, but it was a really busy time for me, both professionally as well as personally, so a lot of things had to be on the back burner. But I promise you that we're going to change things and put videos out more often. So this year was absolutely amazing in terms of festivals here in Europe. I personally had the opportunity to cover really awesome festivals in the Netherlands, France and Germany. In Holland, for example, I covered Rock, where I was able to shoot bands like Nightwish, Watain, Body Count, Ailstorm, and of course, Arch Enemy. That's where I took this photo of Alisa White-Gluz, Arch Enemy's singer, which I posted on my Instagram after the first night of the festival. Although the photo now looks a bit different since I've had the time to work on it since then, I was pretty happy with it when I took it, and I was actually glad to see that some fans of Arch Enemy and even Alisa herself seemed to like it. A couple of days later, I saw that a company called Thunderbolt Clothing had actually reposted my photo and used it in what was basically an ad. Since they apparently sponsor Alisa, they were using the image to show their products and obviously trying to drive traffic to their store. This really crosses the line for me because even though I might turn a blind eye to a fan or an artist reposting an image, it's different when the use is so obviously commercial. Although legally, taking someone else's work and using it without permission is in principle infringing, I think that we can all agree that when there is a financial aspect to the reuse, it falls into a different category. I mean, in that case, someone is trying to make money from your work without you seeing a dime for it. Since this isn't exactly my first rodeo, I sent an email to the company and told them that they couldn't simply advertise on Instagram using my work. I explained to them that even though I could potentially charge them a lot of money for the infringement, I would be happy to just forget about the whole thing and even let them keep using the photo if they were willing to donate 100 euros to the Dutch Cancer Society. I've used this method with clients in the past, benefiting organizations like the ACLU, so I thought that this would also work here. Instead of getting back to me directly, even if just to tell me to go to hell, Thunderbolt Clothing reported me to Arch Enemy's management. They quickly told me to back off, arguing that Arch Enemy and their sponsors had the right to use my work as well as that of any other photographer that took photos of them at a show. In any case, I should be happy for the exposure that my work was getting and just be quiet. It was after I replied to this message, explaining that no, neither the band nor their sponsors have the right to profit for free from my work, that I found out who I was actually talking with. Angela Gosso, Arch Enemy's former singer and current manager, was the person who had told me to back off and who, in response to my email, was now telling me that I was no longer welcome at their shows.
We have immediately removed the picture you took at Rock. By the way, we are sure you don't mind that you are not welcome anymore to take pictures of Arch Enemy performances in the future, at festivals or solo performances. I've copied in the label reps and booking agent who will inform promoters. No band wants to have photographers on site who later send such threatening correspondence to monetize on their images. And BCC the band so they know about you in the future. Thank you, and have a nice day.
After fangirling for a few minutes, since, oh my god, Angela Gosso knows my name, the situation started to sink in. In plain English, I was being told that expecting to get paid for my work was such a bad thing, such a disgusting behavior, that I shouldn't even be able to shoot concerts. After all, that's why Angela wasn't just telling me that I wasn't welcome at the shows, but also copying promoters, labels, and booking agents in the hopes of sinking my photographic career. It's kind of like when in movies someone says, "I'll make sure you never work in this town again."
You're fired. You're finished. You'll never work in fashion again. I'm through with all of you. I'll just even. Just wait. You'll be sorry. You fools! You idiots!
Besides the fact that I was being falsely accused of trying to demand payment from Alisa or her band, since the only people whose use I objected to was their sponsor, I was obviously bothered by the enormous sense of entitlement demonstrated by Angela's words. It was obvious that, in her opinion, photographers are supposed to just work for the love of the art and to get their name out there, happy with the vague promise that this exposure is going to, one day, maybe, who knows, translate into an actual payment. Now, I really love to be a photographer and I would really hate to lose the ability to continue covering shows since, well, this is my art and I love creating it. But at the same time, I'm very fortunate since I don't actually depend on photography to make a living. I work as an attorney, so I don't have to be afraid of being blacklisted from any show since that won't jeopardize my ability to put food on the table. Many other photographers aren't so lucky, and their entire livelihoods depend on them being able to continue shooting bands. Behaviors like these, where the mere fact of expecting compensation for their work could get them blacklisted, have a chilling effect on them since they can't risk asking to be compensated, knowing that it could result in having labels, bands, managers, and promoters banning them from venues and shows. In fact, when I was writing this story, I approached a number of high-profile photographers, all of whom agreed on the fact that what was happening was really unfair, but none of whom wanted to openly speak about it since they couldn't risk being blacklisted. As understandable as that behavior is, and I really cannot judge someone who chooses a paycheck over siding with some random internet stranger, the problem is that it just lowers the standards for all photographers. I mean, by not taking a stand and telling musicians, labels, and sponsors that photographers need to be compensated, you make it that much harder for photographers to make a living, since it's impossible to compete against someone who gives their work away for free. To make matters worse, and as Angela's words made clear, I was also being accused of threatening people simply for requesting payment for my work. This is sadly a sentiment shared by Alisa, who told me that now they didn't want to run the risk of sharing the work of someone who, like me, might start threatening and harassing fans who share the photos. Now, I've had the privilege of meeting Alisa in the past, and we have several common friends, and I can attest to the fact that she's genuinely a nice person, but she's completely off the mark here. It's not only that I've never threatened anyone who shares my work, but also that right now you can find plenty of musicians and fans who reposted my work without any issues. This entitlement on the part of Arch Enemy's management is not an isolated situation, but a symptom of a much larger problem. Photographers have their work stolen all the time without even as much as a thank you note from those behind the theft. Some musicians, like the Foo Fighters, Taylor Swift, and Lady Gaga, have even done away with any pretense of fairness or respect for the work of photographers, forcing them to sign away all their rights to their work before they're even allowed to shoot anything. While some artists have faced significant backlash for doing this, a newspaper, for example, sent a cartoonist to cover a Foo Fighters show instead of a photographer, many photographers will sign away their rights either because they don't know any better, it's not as if standing next to a photo pit is an ideal place to go over a contract, or because they can't afford not to shoot any of the big names. Of course, what's worse is the fact that none of the people who are happy to exploit your work in exchange for exposure want to be paid in exposure. If you don't believe me, try making a movie soundtrack featuring Arch Enemy's music without paying them a dime for it and just wait for the lawsuits to start rolling in. Or even easier, do what I did and upload a full Arch Enemy song to YouTube and see it get automatically flagged as copyright infringing and filled with ads that benefit Arch Enemy and not you, despite all of the exposure that you're giving them. Don't worry, Angela. I've deleted that upload already since it was just an experiment. Please don't be mad. Or, just check Angela's own Facebook, where she recently shared a link to a website that highlights the problems that artists face as a result of knockoffs and other intellectual property theft.
Huh. Irony!
Now, don't get me wrong, I think that she's completely right in being bothered by knockoffs. They are a big problem for artists since they deprive them from a huge revenue stream, not to mention that the fans themselves are the ones who end up with crappy, low-quality merchandise. I completely agree that they should be fought. It's just that I wish she would use the same kind of zeal when it comes to defending other people's intellectual property. When it comes to their art, they obviously want to make sure that it is protected and that they get paid for it. When it comes to other people's work, just be happy for the exposure, man. Or, as Judge Carlin said it,
have you noticed that their stuff is shit and your shit is stuff?
What I find most ridiculous is that all of this entitlement, all of this anger, comes from a band that covers itself in an anti-authoritarian far-left imagery. As part of their shtick, they are happy to parrot anarchist phrases like "no gods, no masters" or "under black flags we march," but exhibit the same kind of bully behavior that any of their alleged corporate nemesis use. Intellectual property matters, and artists deserve to be compensated, whether it is someone at the level of Arch Enemy, Metallica, or Iron Maiden, or a kid who's just shooting his first show ever. Punishing and blacklisting someone just because they don't want to be taken advantage of is definitely not the way to go. And in true anarchist and anti-authoritarian fashion, I did kind of shoot Arch Enemy again after that ban because...
Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Fuck you, I will not do what you tell me. Mother.
I bet Angela would be proud. So thank you very much for watching us once again. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. And remember, if you want to support the Dutch Cancer Foundation or any other charity of your choice, Christmas is a great opportunity to do it, right? So thank you very much for your time. I really hope that I'll see you again in 2019. Stay metal.